How to buy investment property out of state. You may remember Shirley and Neil. They have many investments in their self-directed IRA, and these investments were starting to pay off. Cash was starting to accumulate in their IRA, and they decided to take a holiday in the same resort that they own timeshare condo in. As we mentioned last time we wrote about Shirley and Neil, they could not stay in their own condo because it would have been a prohibited transaction. Well, anyway, Shirley and Neil were really enjoying the vacation, and one night they were sitting having a few drinks when they overheard the couple at the next table talking about an old fellow who had died. Apparently the old man had a local property which he had not visited for a fair time, and the people at the next table were wondering what was going to happen to the property. Neil leaned over and told the people that he had overheard them talking and was wondering where the property was. The couple at the next table were surprised but friendly and gave him the address and directions to the property. The next day Shirley and Neil left early to take a look at the property. Shirley turned to Neil and said, "You realize we can't afford to buy any real estate at the moment, don't you?" Neil looked at her and said, "Don't worry, it's not for us. We are going to put this real estate in an IRA." Approaching the house they were a little taken aback. The paint was blistered and cracked and the yard was a mess. Shirley was disappointed until she walked around the corner and saw the breathtaking views the property had. They quickly saw the possibilities the house presented. Neil had a good look around and determined what he thought was a good price after taking off the cost of doing it up. Shirley turned to Neil and said, "Darling, do you own rental real estate in your IRA?" Shirley and Neil decided there and then they would keep the house if they got it and rent it out. Neil spent the next morning tracking down the owner and told them he could put a deposit down and give them a note for the rest of the purchase price. After some discussion they decided on a larger deposit and the remainder paid within 36 months. Shirley called their IRA custodian and arranged for them to draw up a mortgage and note and sent to the owners with the contract draft. After the documents were approved she directed them to sign the documents. Shirley and Neil's IRA paid the deposit and borrowed the remainder through owner financing. As Neil said, it was one way to own rental real estate in your IRA. Shirley and Neil's IRAs had some outstanding loans maturing soon, and they knew they would be able to meet the mortgage repayments plus pay for the repairs to the house. 6 months later Shirley and Neil were happy as the rental on their new property was paying much higher returns than they had expected. Their repair bills were less than expected as the repairs were mainly cosmetic, and the real estate manager of the property sent them a letter telling them the property was worth 80% more than they had anticipated. The only drawback as far as they were concerned was the fact they had to pay a tax called UBIT on their part of the deal that was debt-financed income. But as Shirley reminded Neil, it was one way to own rental real estate in your IRA. All in all, they thought that they had a wonderful and profitable holiday. Indeed, they smiled all the way to the bank. Again, if you find this too hard to understand or you can't be bothered with all the rules and regulations, there is a simpler, more turnkey solution to investing in real estate with your IRA. Just go to the URL at the bottom of this article and thenceforth to my website. There you will find more information.